Hello, everyone. Welcome to an officially summer edition now. My exam, well, yours isn't, but my exams are over.
Yeah.
All my essays are submitted, so I can concentrate on giving you quality football talk, which is why I've done very little research today.
Same. All of my things are finished. I'm done for the year.
Yeah,
I'm just finished.
You've
generally.
been done since September.
I mean, I am finished in the same way that, Michael Carrick is finished or Gareth Barry is finished. Yeah.
So despite it being almost 30 degrees all week, I somehow have the cold, so that's why I sound like even worse than usual. My already kind of hideous accent has just been made worse.
You're doing yourself down. I think people like the accent.
Yeah.
No one likes their own accent. Everyone hates their own voice.
I see quite a lot, like Northern Irish accent voted sexiest in UK, and I was like, have these people ever been to Northern Ireland?
Even I disagree.
Yeah, do you know what we sound like? Okay, so we're going to talk about relegation, fourth place, and free agents, and then after that, who knows? We could end up anywhere today. These are often the shows that end up with some sort of weird conspiracy or anti-Northern England propaganda.
I mean, Jack's got his shorts on, so
yeah, it's officially summer. Shorts on, snapback
go
on.
Anywhere. And I'm wearing a sleeveless vest. That's not actually a joke.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, we are feeling free today.
Yeah, neither of us can actually get a tan, so I'm not quite sure why we've gone for the shorts and short sleeves option.
Yeah,
but,
basically,
we're just making ourselves vulnerable to sunburn.
Burn.
Yeah,
you could fry an egg on my leg right now. It's just,
I don't doubt that.
So right, let's get straight into it then. Thankfully, if you're Ollie or any other rational human being, Stoke are gone. Stoke are down.
Everyone is happy about this.
Yeah.
Even Stoke fans on some level, they know they belong not in the Premier League.
Except Jack Butland, who was famously unhappy about it.
Yeah, he was like criticising the board and everything.
Yeah.
It was great watching him cry though. Not because I dislike him. I just hate Stoke. Everyone hates Stoke. Yeah. Arsenal fans particularly hate Stoke because of the whole
Aaron Ramsey dared to break his leg against him.
The nerve of the man to come to our stadium and have his leg broken by his international teammate. But the whole Aaron Ramsey, he walks with a limp thing. I mean, Arsenal fans have got a specific reason to hate them, but literally everyone hates Stoke. No one liked Mark Hughes. I don't think people disliked Tony Pulis, but they certainly disliked the football. Yeah. So they went from playing the most unpleasant football in the country to having the most unpleasant manager in the country. They're just...
I mean, you say that everyone else doesn't have a reason to hate them, but I think having to watch them for 180 minutes a season is reason enough.
10 years of it.
Yeah.
10 years of it.
Yeah, that's 1,800 minutes of my life I spent watching Stoke.
That was excellent maths. I mean, you just times it by 10, but it was still good maths. Yeah.
So Stoke are gone, as are West Brom, who put up a really weird, spirited fight back, but it wasn't enough.
I like West Brom again. Like, under Pulis, it was just they were really boring. Under Pardew, again...
It was just Pardew, he was the issue.
Yeah, it was just completely him. As soon as Darren Moore came in, I thought, oh wow, I actually like this club. And Hawthorn's one of those stadiums, everyone who's been there says it's got like some of the best atmosphere in the country. I would really like to go to Hawthorn's. Next year we might actually have to do a little school trip to the Hawthorns. And we should mention that Ben, as an apology for him missing out on like every single show of his own show. He's paying all expenses incled for us to go to the playoff semi-final Monday.
Yeah, he's taken us for dinner. He's paid for the tickets. I know a bottle of champagne's going to be waiting for us at the bar.
Yeah, apparently he's made like those little hampers, those little gift baskets, and he's wrapped everything. There's like posh cheeses, bottle of wine.
Our little presents he's bringing us back from Thailand.
Yeah,
it's all going to be waiting for us as an apology for the last 6 weeks of leaving us to drown here.
All is forgiven, Ben. All is forgiven.
Although, I mean, we have the YouTube channel now with Ben's face right in the middle, and he
shouldn't be anywhere.
Still hasn't featured on it.
It shouldn't be,
and he's not going to now because he's not like coming back for the show.
We should have a sort of rotating credits like they do in Game of Thrones. If he's in, we will include his face on the YouTube video. If he's not in, we take it out.
No, that's too much Photoshop for me. Like I made the one logo that's going to last us until the end of next year.
Well, we could just put a blank white screen over his face.
Yeah, I mean, then we'll start getting accused of all sorts, like whitewashing minority ethnicities and stuff.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, Ben would accuse us of that.
Well, he'd be right.
Okay, so we went on a weird racist tangent, but yeah, Stoke and West Brom are down is the gist of what we're trying to say. So 18th place is the last sort of remaining relegation spot, and the teams vying to not be in that spot are Southampton, Huddersfield and Swansea. Southampton have played 37 as of Swansea. Huddersfield have a game in hand. Southampton 36 points, Huddersfield also 36 points, and Swansea 33 points. So Southampton are more or less safe, you'd think.
Yeah, I mean, I think we can all say that with regret.
Because
Mark Hughes.
At best, Swansea are going to catch them. Well, I mean, Swansea have only got one game left, so Swansea are only going to be able to catch Southampton, and their goal difference is 9 worse. Yeah. So unless Swansea go out and beat Stoke 9-0, Southampton are safe. So Huddersfield can be caught and have a worse goal difference than Swansea, and they've got 2 really hard games. They've got Chelsea away and Arsenal at home, so they basically need a point from one of those games. Do you see them getting that?
I mean, Arsenal's away record is terrible, but it will be Wenger's last ever game. I imagine the players will turn up for that one.
Would that not be the most Wenger thing ever, though, to bow out with a draw to Huddersfield?
Probably, yeah. I mean, I'm going to say we're going to batter them, and I also think Chelsea are going to batter them, because Chelsea are in really good form at the moment. Somehow, out of nowhere, as we're going to talk about later, they found themselves in a top 4 race, in spite of being ridiculously far behind about 3 weeks ago. And I think they're going to... I think for those... It's unfortunate for Huddersfield that they're getting Chelsea now, and they're getting Arsenal for Wenger's last game. I think for those reasons, they are going to get battered, and I think... I mean, how many games has Swansea got left? 1?
1. So if Huddersfield lose both and Swansea beat Stoke, then Swansea stay up.
Swansea should beat Stoke. I'm going to say Huddersfield to get relegated.
Ooh.
I don't want that to happen. I like Huddersfield, but
it's just a really hard run in for them.
Yeah, and I mean Stoke. You see often though that teams that get relegated on the last day of the season actually win.
Just took a point at City.
Yeah, I mean, who? Stoke?
No,
Huddersfield. Yeah, I still don't. I still think just because Chelsea look really good at the moment, Arsenal. Yeah, I don't think they have a chance really.
So I know we've kind of picked over this earlier in the season, but now we've got the teams confirmed. Who would you pick if you were sort of a middling Premiership team? Who are you poaching from Stoke and West Brom?
I'm trying to think if there's... I'm just trying to start with the best ones who even top 6 clubs would consider. Jack Butland. I don't think any top... Maybe Arsenal and Liverpool, but I think there are better goalkeepers.
Yeah.
I do like him though. And Johnny Evans. They're probably the 2. I think Johnny Evans is a certainty to go to a top 6 club just because, I mean, he is of that level. He was never as bad as people made out when he was at Man United. He did make 3 or 4 like bizarre errors a year, but at playing like Pulis ball for a few years has just...
There's been a lot of rumours this week that he's West Ham's top target.
Johnny Evans. Mm-hmm. I mean, I would just say because he's available for 2 million and Man City, Liverpool, Man United and Arsenal all need a centre-back, I don't think he will. I don't think you'll get him, basically.
Well, see, I would argue my rebuttal to this, based purely on the fact that I want him, is that when he left United, he could have went to Arsenal or Spurs or any of the other sort of top 6 teams, but went to West Brom because he wanted to be the sort of main attraction.
But was he linked with those big teams? Oh, he was.
He was. He wasn't. It wasn't like he was never playing for United. He was playing.
He was their third centre back.
15 games a season, but he won at the 38.
I would just think now he's what 29, 30.
Yeah,
probably 30 for 2 million. It's a no-brainer, certainly for Liverpool and Arsenal. Man United. I think Man United aren't that. Their defence isn't that good. Full stop. I think there's a reasonably good chance Real Madrid try and get De Gea again this summer.
Yeah.
That'll be the funniest thing that happens because they are so reliant on him. But so Johnny Evans, Jack Butland,
Xherdan Shaqiri.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing with Shaqiri. When he was at Bayern Munich, he was still considered one of the best prospects in Europe. For him to go to Stoke, I think everyone expected it was a year, 2 years then of playing every single week, and then a big team would come in and go, okay, we'll have you now, you're ready. It hasn't been that. He's been Stoke for 4 years now? Something like that?
I'm not sure.
He's been there a good while. I don't think he's top 6 qualities as a starter. I certainly think off the bench he's a great option. As a guy who plays 25 games a season, starts 25 games a season for a top 6 club, yeah. But, I mean, I imagine every team in the Premier League from 14th down, from 7th down would want Xherdan Shaqiri.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I'm trying to think, is there anyone else at Stoke? Joe Allen, probably.
Yeah, but Joe Allen will end up at like a West Ham or a Swansea, or Swansea if they stay up would make sense for Joe Allen.
I presume you'd take Joe Allen.
Yeah.
I think he's excellent. I really like
definitely.
Joe Allen. Yeah.
I'd take Jack Butland, but I could see Jack Butland ending up at Spurs because Vorm is out of contract and Lloris has been erratic, to say the least, this season.
He's been pretty poor. I mean, the top 6 goalkeepers this year, only De Gea and Ederson have been excellent.
Yeah.
Courtois hasn't. He's kind of gone under the radar this year. No one's really talked about him because I just think Chelsea have had they've had that kind of season, just sort of nothing's gone on of particular interest. But and then West Brom, there's just zilch at that team.
Evans, really, that's it.
Foster's a Premier League level goalkeeper.
I'm sure Rondon will end up back in the Premiership in some form.
He might go abroad though, Rondon. I mean, they brought him. I think he's a top flight player. I think they've got a few players who will remain in the top flight. I'm trying to think who's. Craig McCauley's probably too old to move.
Gareth
McCauley, yeah.
Is like 35, but Craig Dawson is the other one, and he's linked with West Ham too.
Oh, okay.
So I'd take either him or Evans, but preferably Evans.
Yeah.
But it's probably not going to happen. So that's relegation. You're going for Huddersfield.
Yeah.
I think Swansea are going to go down. But not necessarily because Huddersfield are going to take points. I could see Swansea not beating Stoke. I mean, Swansea haven't been that good. Their game last night, they looked like they just were never going to score.
Yeah, I'm not convinced either way. Like, who's going to go down? I just think... I mean, Stoke are such an annoying team. You can see them winning on the last day and making sure Swansea go down. But I want Huddersfield to stay up, and I like Swansea and Huddersfield. I don't want any of them to go down.
No, I think Huddersfield would be a bit unfair for them to sort of fall into this at the end because they've been really good for 30 of the 38 games and they've just sort of fallen away. But yeah, if it's Swansea, Stoke and West Brom, I don't think the Premiership's going to be missing much next season.
No, not at all.
So, as you mentioned, Chelsea have found themselves in a top 4 battle. So, in that 4th place spot, so you've got Liverpool 3rd, Spurs 4th, Chelsea 5th. Liverpool have played 37 and Spurs and Chelsea have both played 36, so they've still got 2 to go. Liverpool 72 points, Spurs 71 points, and Chelsea 69 points.
So if Chelsea win their game in hand, they're level with Liverpool. But Liverpool ahead on goal difference.
Minus 15 goal difference to Liverpool.
But I mean, if Liverpool drop 1 point, who's their final game?
Liverpool's final game's at home to Brighton.
I mean, Liverpool players, they'll be super distracted. What is it, 6 days later they've got Champions League final?
Yep.
Is the game on Sunday or Saturday? The Premier
League
I think
final? It's all on Saturday. They all play them at once.
So 7 days later they've got a Champions League final. I don't think there'll be huge rotation just because it's a week to prepare. I actually think if you give players too long a break, it doesn't help them.
Be detrimental.
Yeah, so I imagine Liverpool put out a first team, but they'll be so distracted. And I mean, the whole time they'll be going, let's not get injured, let's not get injured. I mean, what happens to Liverpool if like Van Dijk overexerts himself or Salah does? I mean, if either of those two get injured, I don't think they'll win the final. I think Brighton are going to get a point. Okay. And I think Chelsea are going to overtake. But then the thing is, Tottenham, what happens to Tottenham? They're...
Spurs are on 71 points with 2 games to go. They have to play Newcastle and Leicester, both at home.
I mean, it is in Tottenham's DNA, as Chiellini said earlier in the season, to my amusement.
Yeah.
This is a very Spurs thing to do. It wouldn't be a shock for Spurs to Spurs this up and for Chelsea to overtake them. The funniest scenario would be Chelsea overtaking Tottenham and getting into the top 4. Or, actually, is that funny? That is funny.
Yeah,
all options are funny,
yeah.
But I just like the idea. If there was some scenario, is there a scenario where Tottenham can manage to not get in the Champions League and so that Liverpool don't finish in the top 4?
No, 2 of the 3 have to finish in the top 4.
Oh, okay.
So then one of them's going to miss out.
But
Chelsea have a pretty tough run in, I guess, in the circumstances, because they've got Huddersfield, who have everything to play for.
Yeah.
And then Newcastle away on the last day.
That would be super hard.
Yeah.
I mean, if Liverpool got more room to move, just in the sense that if they win the Champions League final,
yeah,
they're
which
back
they've
in
done
the Champions
before.
League. Yeah, they know how to do it. Well, not these players. But
was it Chelsea did it? They won the Champions League and finished 5th.
I think they finished 6th. I think they were pretty poor that year.
Yeah.
But Yeah, as long as Tottenham fans are unhappy. So that's what I hope for, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no. Now I remember the ultimate dream scenario.
Okay.
Tottenham drop out of the top 4. Liverpool are in the top 4, but Liverpool win the Champions League anyway. So then Tottenham would be going, if they finish 5th and won the Champions League, we would have got to keep our place. That's the dream scenario.
So you want Spurs to miss out and know they could have had it. You want
Yeah.
Fair enough. So that will probably take a break now because we've surmised that it would be really funny if Spurs don't make it, and it's also really funny that we never have to watch Stoke again. Yeah, is that fair?
Great weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of great weekends, we're going to have to analyse Mark Noble's best goal ever after the break.
Fair enough.
And we're back.
You lucky people.
Yeah, we took an extended break there because we've run out of stuff to talk about. So
there'll be a lot of umming and ahhing in this next 30 minutes or so.
This is what people in the industry call winging it.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're familiar with it.
This is basically just 80% of TalkSport, what you're about to hear.
Yeah, except we don't have a phone in from like the worst of every fan base.
Yeah.
Although we could arrange that.
I think we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the only phone calls we get would be from my family, Ben, who wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
And
yeah, I don't know. I guess we could open the floor. Just stick it in every group chat we're a part of. Like if anyone's got some really bad opinions about football, please phone in because we're trying to do a TalkSport thing here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of friends who have really bad opinions about football. So yeah.
Which is why it's just the two of us every week. We don't trust anyone else.
That's not even a joke.
So we'll start with West Ham humiliating Leicester 2-0. No, humiliating is kind of strong, but
I mean, Leicester pretty good at humiliating themselves lately.
West Ham assuring their Premiership survival is probably a better way to phrase it.
Mark Noble doing it is great.
Okay, yeah, well, we'll start with the first goal, which was, have you seen it?
Yes, but I can't remember it.
Masiaku beats two men down the wing, crosses it in. Arnautovic thinks about volleying it from an angle that would be stupid, thinks better of it, and then crosses it back in for João Mario. That was one. And Arnautovic looked both happy that West Ham had scored and disappointed it wasn't him. He's got real Ronaldo vibes about him.
Yeah.
Like, he looks kind of mad that someone else scored.
Alexis was like that a lot at Arsenal. He, like, honestly, if someone else scored, he'd like start sulking. Like he'd look like just inconsolable. But,
that's what Arnautovic was like until Mark Noble scored the best goal ever.
Yeah,
Arnautovic went crazy.
You know, Did I tell you this before? Arsenal fans hate Arnautovic.
Why?
Basically, Matthew Debussy, when we first brought him.
Oh, yeah. I've heard this.
Yeah, Arnautovic barged him into the advertising hoardings, and I think he dislocated his shoulder, Debussy, and it did something to his ankle when he fell. It was just awful injury, and he was like bruised across one side of his body. Like, you know, in football, normally when someone gets decked, you think it's funny. In this instance, it was one of the few times you're like, oh, that is bad. Yeah, and Rob Holding last year, he then barged Arnautovic into the advertising hoardings, who then dislocated his shoulder. So I think we're even now.
Yeah.
I don't think we should hate him, and you can't dislike such a comedy villain. He's brilliant.
He is. That's the best thing about him. It's literal pantomime stuff.
Yeah.
He just goes around trying to wind everyone up.
Yeah.
He even did it with the West Ham fans. I think it was either his second or third game for West Ham this summer. Just signed for 25 million. Did nothing for the first two games. Then in the third game, elbowed someone in the face off the ball and got sent off. So
next year, on the upside, the good thing about Southampton almost definitely staying in the league is he'll be able to do his celebrating in front of his face again,
yeah,
which is brilliant.
He really, we've played against Mark Hughes twice now, once at Stoke and once at Southampton with Arnautovic, and both games he's just turned it on, like nearly to an almost unbelievable level where it's like, if he's capable of being this good, why isn't he like this all the time?
But how do you make someone who looks as unhappy as Mark Hughes look even more unhappy? Like, Arnautovic's got to be the only person in the world who can do it.
You have to wonder what went on behind the scenes for Arnautovic to take such an exception to him and just like hate him.
No, everyone hates Mark Hughes. Like, all other managers hate him. Like, you know, like in the press, like you will listen to a podcast and loads of journalists are talking and they talk about, oh, this manager, you may not like his football, but he's a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Two people, they never say that. Three people, Pardrew, Allardyce, and Mark Hughes. No one likes any of them.
Yeah, I've actually noticed Hughes is the butt of a lot of jokes on like podcasts and stuff, especially after his big rant this week about referees and stuff. Did you hear that?
Oh yeah. What was it?
It basically just like he's beyond disappointed.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah, he was talking about John Moss and how he couldn't keep up with the game, and he was like, he's probably still catching his breath. That's why he didn't do it.
Yeah, but he did it so passive aggressively that it was like he said, "I'm not going to complain about the referees, but John Moss is probably still catching his breath."
Oh, okay. Yeah. Wenger's one is the one he did to Wenger was brilliant. He was like just screaming at him the whole game on the touchline, swearing at him. You French this, you French that. It was all about him being French, followed by a series of swear words. And at the end of the game, Mark Hughes went to shake Wenger's hand, and Wenger was like, "No, you've been swearing at me for 90 minutes. I'm not like shaking your hand." And then Mark Hughes, you could almost see the relish. He was like, "I'm going to make a big deal out of this." He goes into the press conference and he was like, "The nerve of the man not shaking my hand. We've been doing this in football since football began, and he's betrayed an ancient tradition." And it was like, no, you're just a terrible guy.
Yeah.
That was the closest I got to swearing.
Yeah, exactly.
Really
we should maybe move on from Mark Hughes because he brings like that effect in everyone.
He will almost definitely though be a West Ham manager at some point in the future.
He won't.
You don't think so?
No.
You don't think that's a thing that's ever going to happen?
No, I don't think he'll ever manage the Premiership after this job.
I hope so.
His stock has just gone down like so much.
Bear in mind, your boardroom are quite ridiculous.
We're quite ridiculous, but they would rather give the job to someone completely unproven than someone who's got a bad reputation. Like, even their appointments, like, Moyes didn't have a great reputation, but he was really good at Everton.
Yeah.
Was available at the time. Bilic was untested in English football. Allardyce was a sort of safe pair of hands. They'd rather play it safe. Mark Hughes is risky.
You know, now that you put it like that, I can't think of like a terrible managerial appointment you made recently.
Probably none since Avram Grant.
Yeah, wasn't he like Chelsea's sporting director? And then he was their manager Chelsea for like 2 months,
and then he relegated Portsmouth, and then he relegated us.
What a man!
Yeah, back to back. So we haven't really had a bad one since that. But anyway, away from the worst mark in the league and back to the best mark in the league, Mark Noble scored an absolutely unbelievable goal and did his classic Mark Noble sort of post-match thing where it's like, yeah, this was for the fans.
Yeah. he really, like, even though he is a parody of himself, he is sort of impossible to dislike.
Yeah.
And even though, like, there are all these jokes about him as, like, being this sort of, like, little Englander, he's never actually said anything that's made me go, okay. He's never actually done anything actually bad. It's just the idea of... He's a bit like Jack Wilshere. Both of them have got this image of, like, being, like, these hardline, like, UK is the best, Brexit is. It's not the case at all. With like, they definitely are, but they've never like done anything bad. They've never like came out as Tories like Frank Lampard or anything. But they've got this image about them that everyone's just decided.
No, everything you ever hear about Mark Noble is just thoroughly decent. But I think it's just his accent.
Yeah,
and the fact he sees himself as the embodiment of every West Ham fan.
Yeah.
Like, he basically stopped short of saying in that interview, like, yeah, that wasn't just me. Like, all 35,000 of you scored that volley from 30 yards today. Like, that's the kind of... If he wasn't playing for West Ham, he'd have been in the stands with a can of Stella, like, shouting at a ref.
Do you reckon if he gets do you get a trophy for the best goal of the season? The match of the day give you, like, some little cheap tap one?
Well, clubs do. I don't know about match of the day.
Do you reckon he's the sort of guy he'll donate it to the West Ham Museum so he can share it with every single fan?
Well, I mean, if he was going to do that, he'd probably do it with Hammer of the Year because he's won it like 3 times. Like, there's sort of genuine suggestions that they should rename the Player of the Year award the Mark Noble Player of the Year award once he retires. Like,
is the award itself? Is it a hammer?
I don't think so.
It should be like a used hammer.
I spray paint it. Spray painted gold.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be more than some of the past winners deserve, really.
Yeah.
So that's my weekend. So you can sum up now what you described as the best day of your life. What did you say? Best?
Not best day. It's probably the best atmosphere I've been to at the Emirates.
Footballing day.
Yeah, it was just not in terms of the result. It's not like I've had better days in terms of Arsenal winning trophies and stuff. It was just the best the atmosphere's been at the Emirates, and for this last 3 years, it's been really, really toxic. Probably 2.5, 3 years, it's been really toxic. Everyone turned up today, except the guy who sits to my left. He hasn't turned up for 3 months. I'm worried about him. But anyway, everyone else in the stadium, apart from the man on my left, whose name is unknown to me, everyone turned up. Everyone celebrated him. People who I've heard in my nearby vicinity scream and abuse Wenger for like this last year or so since I've had this seat, or me and my dad have had this seat. they were singing his name. Every single Arsenal song from like the last 20 years, Vieira songs, Petit songs, Perez songs, some songs that shouldn't even really be allowed to be sung. Every single one was sung yesterday. No, Sunday. Yeah, Sunday. And it was just the perfect day. The football was great. It would have been very Arsenal. It would have been more Arsenal to like go 1-0 down to Burnley and then get like a dodgy 2-1 win. But it was just the perfect Wenger day, really. Great football. Aubameyang played brilliantly. Lacazette did. All the players turned up. It was just, the result was perfect. And after the game, it was just done so well. They could have overdone it completely and it would have just been ridiculous. They brought back former players. Each club did a guard of honour. It's just the nicest time I've had at a football match. Like normally Arsenal is, like I said, just toxic. There's lots, like everyone who sits near you, just every time they open their mouth and like criticize a player who's been playing brilliantly and going, he's terrible. And you're like, oh my God, like this is just exhausting. Like a lot of the time I'm at football matches, Arsenal matches anyway, I'm thinking, do I even like this? Like,
I hate West Ham fans.
Yeah.
They're awful people.
No, this is what I mean. No one likes their own like fellow supporters. Maybe it's just where I'm sitting, which is, I got a little bit worried there. What if any of them are listening? I don't know who any of these people are, and neither do they. And why would these middle-aged men be listening to this student radio show? But you have this thing where, like, if someone's got a Wenger out banner, you can take a picture of that. You can't take a picture of a man who's just like happily watching the game. That's not a pic. That's like 55,000 people. That's not an interesting photograph. And I mean, it was just the perfect day in the sense that there was no ill feeling towards him. Like I was worried there were going to be some people who were like making jokes. Yeah, thank you and everything, but you should have gone 4 years ago. There was none of that. Everyone was just like, okay, this is great. And there was a few like pantomime moments as well. So Chips Keswick are apparently Dickensian, like chairman who has a name from like, I don't know, like Hard Times or like David Copperfield or something. And he came on the pitch. And he's like the most comically posh man. I mean, his name's Sir Chips Keswick, you know, Sir Chips. It's just ridiculous. And he comes on the pitch and he gets booed like crazy. And it didn't even take away from the day. But there was this part of me. It was like every single emotion and sensory response to an event I have was like scratched, you know, joy, sentiment. And just when you think there's not been one negative one, just as like the icing on the cake, he gets booed. And like there was this moment, like, you know when you're watching a really cringy scene in the comedy and you're like, oh, and like he deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. But watching this 85-year-old man getting like roundly booed by everyone in the stadium was really funny. I don't know why. I was just watching, but he's so like stoic. He's like such this like stereotypically like English posh guy that he just straightened his back as it was happening. And like there was like this goodbye thing to like 4 different people. Vic Akers, Arsenal's kit man and women's manager. He juggled both jobs for about 30 years. He hasn't been the women's manager for about 10 years. But yeah, he founded the women's team, but at the same time was still Arsenal's kit man. That says a lot about how women's football is treated.
Especially considering Arsenal women were the pinnacle of it for years.
He's won like, I mean, in terms of women's football as a manager, he's like Ferguson level. He's won like 35, 36 trophies. But now he just like picks up sweaty bibs. Yeah, and he did that at the same time for a large period of it. But he got his goodbye. He's famous because he only wears shorts. Like if it's -20, we were playing Ostersund's earlier in the season, -20, everyone's got like 15 layers on. He's just walking around in shorts.
That.
Yeah,
good.
That's the sort of thing you do. Yeah. I actually think you and him would get on.
I don't own leggings. What's this?
Yeah.
Like even in the dead of winter, I train in shorts.
You know what? At first I was doing leggings, but I didn't have them one day, and I thought, you know what, this just feels right. Yeah. Parts of your body are supposed to be cold when you're playing football. It's just normal.
It's part of the experience.
Yeah, I think so. It wakes you up as well. But anyway, on our like moving on from a like yada rant about leggings and snoods.
And short sleeves and gloves. What about that?
That is nonsense, to be fair. But yeah, Alex Scott, the Arsenal women's captain, she's been at Arsenal, I think, like 3 different times. She's been here for years. She's played loads of times for England. She got the best chant of the night. Tottenham Hotspur, she's won more than you. Like, I mean, everything was made about Tottenham somehow. Her Mertesacker BFG. I can't say what the F stands for, but you can use your imagination. Yeah. He got that for like the whole game. That was it's probably going to be his last appearance. Even, I kind of hope it is. I mean, he did an interview about 3 months ago where he was talking about how like football just stresses him out now. He's like, he'd rather not even be on the bench. He says, honestly, the best thing that happens to me about football, he's like, I like training. I don't want to get picked anymore. He said it actually exhausts him. And he was saying football, like pre-game, is so like stressful that he'd rather just not. And this season, he came on for like 20 minutes. Every single time it was like he got olayed, he got cheered. It was just ridiculous. He made about 50 passes in about 12 minutes. It was like the Arsenal players enjoyed the celebration he got every time he touched the ball, that we just gave it to him. There was one point where we like outright endangered him just because they were like enjoying the moment, the Arsenal players. And I thought, okay, they made a back pass to him. He's a slow guy. It hasn't even gone to his feet. What will happen if we concede a really bad goal and it's 5-1? Will everyone laugh it off and will Wenger like be laughing on the touchline going, haha, that's my Arsenal?
Yeah. I mean, it would, if we were going to truly reflect like Wenger's Arsenal career, they should have went 5-0 up and then somehow drawn 5 each.
Yeah, we should have just done Newcastle, right? Yeah. Burnley haven't got 5 goals in them.
You know, they've
got
not
5 goals in them.
Months.
Yeah, exactly. But at the end of the game, it was just a really, like I said 15 times, it was just a ridiculously nice day. And at Arsenal, you don't get many of them. Certainly not in league games, just because our league campaign's been dead for 3 months, and haven't challenged for a title in 15 years. And to get such a good send off in a stadium he may as well have built with his own hands, and it was nice for him. Like, it would have been, I think he would have hated it, the experience that day, if we lost or drew that game. He would have found it probably a bit patronising. He didn't really want to do it anyway, but with all due respect to him, like, the main thing I can say about him is he's never hid from anything. Like, in interviews, you can ask him any question, he'll answer it. He's not like, you know, some managers, they're like, I'm not talking to these people, and they like storm off. At his lowest points, he's always faced everyone, confronted them. At the end of this game, I'm sure he didn't want to do some long 30-minute ceremonial goodbye where he walks around the pitch, he does a speech for 5 minutes, and but he did it gracefully, and it was just really nice to see. And there was this huge sense of relief from most Arsenal fans. It was like, finally, we get to thank him. Like, we get to say thank you and goodbye. More so the thank you bit than the goodbye bit, because it's just for so many, it's hard to have these two parts of yourself that are going, he really should go. Like, you've heard me on this show for like a few months. He really should have gone
last season.
I don't think the club itself, the structures in place around him were there last season. Some people are now saying it'd been great for him to leave. It would have done him favours and his legacy favours if he left, but the club itself was not ready to lose him at that point. We've made like 5 or 6 appointments around him. We've got a new head of recruitment, a new sporting director, a new coaching staff. It would have, I think, without him, honestly, this season would have been really rough, even more so. So, but again, that's the quintessential thing about Wenger. He's made sacrifices for the benefit of the club, and he turned down the world to manage like Marouane Chamakh with like no money, and Park Chu-young and stuff like that, turning down Real Madrid. And he's got to a point now where I don't think he's employable really by top level clubs. I'm sure he'll find his feet. Like, it wouldn't shock me in 6 or 7 months' time, like Thomas Tuchel gets sacked by PSG or Zidane gets sacked by Real Madrid, and
I could definitely see him.
And then Wenger goes and they go to Wenger, do you want a job till the end of the season? He'll go, yeah, okay, and he'll end up winning everything. I do think he's going to make some weird, miraculous comeback.
I mean, it would be amazing if he wins the Champions League and Arsenal don't. Yeah,
I mean, the thing is now, this last couple of days, the Allegri things have really hotted up. Enrique's basically been written off now. And the press are reporting in England and Italy that he is up for it, Allegri. And Chelsea obviously have got a chance of getting in the top 4. And if they get into the top 4, you imagine he'd go, oh, I'd like that job. I think Arsenal probably got a better squad than Chelsea's. And also, you've got to appreciate he probably only got 18 months, 2 years at Chelsea. Then Arsenal was a project. If like Klopp, the reason he could have went to anyone really in his absence when jobs are available everywhere. He chose Liverpool because it was an actual job. They're 8th in the league, this historic club. He wanted to do it because he could build them up. I'm not saying he would have turned down Man City because it would have been too easy, but he likes a project, and I think Allegri's quite similar. And now it's basically Allegri, Arteta, and Jardim, who are the main three guys. But
so that's your Arsenal section covered for this week then.
Yeah.
See ya.
In my head, I play a supercut of us. All the magic we